All right, gentlemen, how we doing?
To be here hooking up all. Yeah, man.
Huh? I thought you missed and clicked the wrong thing there. It was like, yeah, everybody is.
Nah, man. All good. All good.
Everybody there? Everybody there?
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
that's
Good,
good.
man.
That's good. Excellent, excellent.
How
Hi,
are you?
everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of The Living Room. I'm Andre with my good friends Philip and Mark. If this is your first time here, you're on the Global platform. And this is the show, The Living Room, where we just come together every Sunday and just have a good old Caribbean conversation about whatever topic it is that we think we want to talk about any given week. In the living room, you come together, you have a drink, you right the world's wrongs. Everybody's kind of a semi-expert about everything, and that's what we do. Just have great Caribbean conversation. How are we doing, guys?
Excellent,
right.
man. Doing good this week for sure. Yeah, man.
Oh, Phil, my man, pep up, man. I think that the day is getting a bit longer now, so he feeling happy.
Moving.
Hey, good, man. Good.
Maybe changing color shirt too. I see wearing green these days.
Green.
That's my
Notice
color.
y'all clashing, or y'all planning and just leaving me out.
No, man. We know we know you like the white shirt, right? So
Yeah.
we
That's my Simon Cowell look.
we leave you in that space.
No, that is all right. That is all right. Hi, Anne. Hi, Pat, Eunice, V. How we doing? Bernadette, Karen Douglas. How you doing? Welcome. Yeah, man. So what's going on at y'all saying?
Go ahead, Phil.
Man, you know my story is always the same.
Hey, Marika.
There's going to be the same way. It's going to be homeschooling. We didn't have any snow this week, so no long snow walks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, homeschooling is definitely a humbling experience. It really is. You know, the week before, when I heard parents moaning about it, and I was saying, "Come on, just
How hard can it be?
just get through it." You know,
That's your child, man.
yeah. It's your child.
You
Get
child.
up in the morning,
Yeah.
make a little plan, create a point system, and get on with it. But no matter what point system or what plan you have,
It doesn't work.
it
doesn't work.
You just have to get through it. You know, it's hard.
Well, I
So you have
trying to cope to get from one day to the next. Yeah, It's like,
Absolutely.
oh my
Yes.
goodness, man, this thing is so hard. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm lucky enough that the girls are older, 14 and 12. So,
Yeah.
15 and 12, don't let me. 14. Yeah, sure.
Lord.
You can say I know the age now. 14. So a little bit easier there. I don't know the guys that dealing with the primary school age, the younger ones. Well, I can't imagine how that is.
Yeah, so Miles he's 8. He's my only challenge.
You want a point system. Might as well want a point system.
He
Michelle Greg.
really liked the point system. He was into it, because he knew is a 60.
You
a 60
thought
point
he was
system
into it,
equals
you mean.
60 points translated into 60 minutes of video gaming, right? And I thought it was so fair because even
Philip
if
thought that was good work, right?
even if he got 15 out of 60, a bad day, he still got 15 points. There's still 15 minutes, so it was like genius idea.
All the best.
Yeah. He actually thought that was good work. No problem.
Yeah,
Wait, though, a question there for you, Mark. I was to ask you a few weeks now. Still vegetarian?
No.
I
like Barbados. I put on a long pause.
Long pause.
I love.
So what changed things for you, Christmas?
I'm calling it a lockdown. I put on a long pause on my veggie diet. Yeah, man. Christmas lit me for 6.
Christmas, right?
Christmas.
Then you what?
Christmas. Yeah. Christmas.
My camera there.
I see, you're dropping up there for a
I
little
did
bit.
check in my camera there. And well, hopefully, all right. Anyway, we continue.
Yeah, man. I know. We decided. We had a conversation about this in the house.
What?
So,
if the rest can join you, or if
No.
you?
I think the plan is, well, we got all this meat in the fridge now.
Might as well. Look, I can't even complain. So
Somebody
today
had to put it there, though.
Today I restarted today. Man. The Christmas had me done up too.
Man.
And then a few weeks ago, I missed a fried piece of bacon. Oh, shoot.
Bacon? Nah.
Oh, Lord.
Don't touch that stuff, bud.
No, I tell anybody, don't run away. Look away from the
You
light.
said the right thing there. Oh,
Seriously.
Lord.
I talking fry the bacon too, you know. I ain't talking put it in the oven and all this nonsense. It's when you fry it and you get that salt caramelization.
Mm.
Oh my lord! So I had to give myself 2 more weeks to wean off. But as of today, 31st, that's me. I
So
done.
the
Last
first
piece
of
of chicken was today.
February, you gone back on the veggie diet.
Back on the veggie diet. Yeah.
And there, yeah, and there, yeah. I the fridge still look a little heavy on our side, so I think I probably will be there sometime around the middle to the end of Feb. But I will be back.
But you know it can stay heavy if you keep putting it in the basket
No,
when you go to the
I'm
supermarket.
buying them more. I'm buying them more. I just getting rid of what we have.
You know,
Okay,
so the
okay.
whole family going veggie then.
Nah, that ain't gonna
Nah.
happen.
Oh, dear.
That ain't gonna happen. Watch
Oh,
for the
that's
comments on that one.
Bernadette says she's been vegetarian for 4 years, he said.
Oh,
Wonderful.
wow. Congratulations,
Well
Bernadette.
Well done.
You
Well
must share
done.
the secret.
Indeed.
The secret
Indeed,
is not
indeed.
eating meat, I guess.
Not eating meat. I suppose staying away from it. You gotta stay away. Once you get back used
I
to
wonder what she just do at Christmas. If she's one of them that's have like that fake ham
nut
thing.
roast.
Nut roast is eat good, yeah.
Nut roast. That's the Christmas thing of the vegetarians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nut roast.
You know.
Fair enough. So you see
Nut roast.
our friends down in Barbados going on pause this coming week. So for those who are watching, hopefully everything will go well.
From the third, yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be quite an interesting thing to observe over the next couple of weeks, I suppose.
Well, not just Barbados, really, because I see St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Antigua all having some
Everybody
serious
got new
issues at the
cases
moment.
now, boy. Everybody got
You
new
know.
cases.
Not just even new cases, it's just the speed at which those cases are going up. It is unbelievable what's happening there. So let's hope everybody stays safe. So if you're from any Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Antigua, Barbuda, I think even Bahamas as well, and anywhere around in the Caribbean, stay safe, guys. Stay safe.
Yeah,
It's good that people in the Caribbean don't seem to be at quite the level of complacency as we see here, though. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, here's next level.
Yeah. Every time.
But I suppose it's all relative to where you are, right?
True.
It's all relative to where you are. What I see people saying is complacency in, say, Barbados, for instance. In the UK, you're like, oh, we wish it was just there.
Yeah, people here are definitely just fed up, ignoring it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Switching off the TV when Prime Minister Johnson appears.
There ain't a lockdown going on now, even though it's supposed to be one.
Yeah.
Everybody going to make a cup of tea when bars get at the top now.
Yeah, nobody listening now. Although I must say, in the past few weeks, the death toll numbers has actually been something that has, I don't know if the word affected is right, but that's something that every time I see it is just really
hit it home.
It's really hit home.
It is the 100,000 effect, man.
Yeah. Well, even more so than the 100,000 effect is the everyday 1,000 effect. Is the everyday 1,200, 1,100, 1,700, and that kind of stuff. And then they get the weekend where the numbers kind of come down and you think that's okay. But then you realize it's the weekend effect. And by Tuesday, again, it's back up to 1,000 a day and that kind of stuff. And I think that's actually beginning to hit home quite a lot with me. Actually.
Yeah, and there's a real danger that people just look at that and see numbers. Those are a lot of lives that are being lost here every single day.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's good what some of the media houses are doing and covering. Well, let's look at some of the faces and stories and families who've been disrupted and affected by this.
Yeah, let's bring out the numbers.
Yeah, because we really need that sometimes.
Indeed.
So in talking about the Caribbean, where are we going this week, man? Who you got in the living room?
Well, this week I think everyone would have seen the poster and stuff. This week we go into Guyana. Because some real interesting things are happening in Guyana, and I say sometimes I'm not sure if everyone is paying attention, and I guess sometimes in the way how the region is dealing with COVID-19, everyone is kind of looking at home at the moment, i.e., their respective countries. But there's some real interesting things happening in Guyana, especially regarding the oil finds and the beginning of that oil exploration program last year and this year as well. And Guyana is on the rise. Fastest growing economy in the world in 2020, despite the pandemic. And that's going to continue for a long time. So I thought it would be great to have a conversation about Guyana and just understand how people there are feeling, understand the impact as well, the psychology of it all, and how people are feeling regarding where Guyana is going, and then look at people who might be living outside and see how they're feeling about what's happening at home. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do. So this week, we got 4 people, 3 in Guyana, 1 outside. So we got Laurent Brummel. He was with us before.
Mhm.
We got Lance Hines. We got Joel as well, Bagardin, and we got Ruth Osman, who is going to join us. And Ruth is the expat living in Trinidad. So she's looking at home from outside. So I think we need to have a good Guyana conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
Yes.
this.
It's been fascinating learning about where Guyana is going, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so, and I can learn a lot today as well. So this isn't just us talking about it. For me personally, for us here on the show, is about us learning. So look, guys, who in the audience, hit share. Let's bring as many people into this conversation as possible, and it'd be great if you guys get in the comments as well, because I'm sure people from right around the region have a view, and we're going to get in some serious stuff as well regarding the perception of Guyana around the region, and vice versa. And it would be great if you guys come in that conversation also. So I'll just go straight in, and let's get the guys in.
Yeah, bring them in.
Hey,
Little
Hey, guys.
Leon.
There's Lil Leron there, man.
Back again, huh? How you guys doing, man? Good evening, everybody.
How's it going, guys?
good evening, good
Hey
evening.
guys, we're doing good.
Good evening. Good evening.
Excellent.
Hello.
Okay. Wow.
Liam
He's
is
getting
joining
big.
us again, and he pops in. He pops in and
He
pops
pops
out. He's going to show you his missing tooth, by the way.
Well, I'm gonna say he's grown since the last time, because I see
Yeah.
he's gone.
He certainly has. He's lost three teeth since then. And
Wow.
costing a pretty penny.
I heard that.
Yeah, we've all been there. We know what that's like.
Indeed. It's good to see everyone in.
It's good that he's here because he represents the future of Guyana.
Oh yeah.
He's strong as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, excellent. Hello, little one from Lisa Dublin. Good evening to you as well, Lisa. Well done. Good to see you in the comments there. So listen, guys. This is a huge moment for all of us to have the conversation. And Ruth, I'm going to come to you first, actually, because
Really?
yeah, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
You better tell me why.
Right.
One of the things that I've been learning, as we said, we learn a lot about what's happening in Guyana, is the diaspora is very vibrant,
Yeah.
and it is really would be really useful to understand now that we are seeing this rise of the homeland. How is that landing in the diaspora, and how do you guys feel about what you're seeing?
So I could tell you that a lot of us want to go back home. that's the first
That's
thing.
interesting.
A lot of us are
Wow.
biding our time. Like we watching this scenario, we're saying, how are things gonna play out here?
Yeah.
Those of us who aren't necessarily thinking about going back home are thinking of maybe investing in some more lands, getting another building or two. People like me who haven't built a name for ourselves in another country are thinking of maybe sort of doing it back home as well, where you have like 2 bases and you go back and forth. So it's a really interesting time. Guyana is like one of those places where you don't really get it out of your system. Once you were born, I suppose that's home for anybody. Yeah? I suppose anybody who's
That is true.
born and raised. But like everybody else, Guyanese would like to think that we special and our place special, right? So a lot of us are looking on. We're excited, but we're also worried. And I'm sure that. I'm sure we're going to talk about that later on.
Yeah. We can get to that.
And we want to contribute. We want to support it. I have a problem with the word development. So we want to support the evolution and the growth of our country. So we watch it. Yeah.
Interesting. Joel, yes, I know you've done some work. Help us understand or put in context just where is Guyana going, numbers in terms of growth and what's not. Because I read a lot of this stuff and it's like, really? is it going to be that quick, that much? You know,
That
I know
big.
you've done that big, you know, and this is the reason why we're having a conversation as well, because does the Caribbean really understand what's happening? Help us understand a little bit about that, you know, from just work that you've done and some of your research and stuff.
Thank you very much, Andre, and thank you to the entire panel and this team. I'm new here. It's my first session, so
Welcome.
Yeah.
to your to
Great
your
to have
to
you.
your, to your audience, I hope I can bring something of substance to your viewership.
Of course.
So to jump on your question, Andre, you use an important word, and that important word is context. And before I'm inclined to give a historic context, my colleague Ruth and fellow Guyanese Ruth used the word development, and you used the word context. Now, I want to devote the next however long I'm going to speak for to expound on those two words in context. Guyana's development context historically, and where are we heading? So permit me to go back a little bit into history for us to understand. So
Yeah.
and it would be good for the viewership
I
as
think
well.
so. Go ahead.
I understand you have a wide viewership globally, perhaps.
Yes.
So let's go a little bit
Universally.
historic. Right. So Guyana's, I'm going to only stick to the peculiar challenges of Guyana's social and economic development. I'm not going to go too much into our colonial history.
Yeah.
And let's talk about our economic history. Guyana would have transitioned between post-colonialism. We were once a centrally command economy, where the political ideology during that time was a socialist system, right? Where the state controlled all the productive arms on the late President Bottom. That system didn't work. And so Bottom died and President Hoy took over, the late Hoy took over. And at the time when Hoy took over, the country was so bad in an economic crisis that the country was literally bankrupt. So we needed help. So as soon as Hoy
Joe, can I
took
ask a quick
over,
question? You use
yeah.
the term post-colonialism. When is that for Guyana? When would you say post-colonialism has happened?
When we would have gained independence.
Okay.
I should say post-independence to be politically correct, and not to confuse it.
Was 1966.
Yeah. Let me be post-independence. So when President Hoy took over, he immediately needed help, and so he went to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. And the International Monetary Fund said, "Look, we're gonna help this country to build it out and to help you to recover, but you need to implement these what they developed economic recovery reform program." And so that was the birth of a free market economy. That was the birth of the private sector, when the state started to liquidate all the assets that it once controlled, and so the private sector emerged. So I'm going into series because I don't want to dwell too much on the specifics of the history. So post 1992, we started to recover. Now Guyana has experienced, and these things I'm saying are well documented in our literature, and you would find literature to substantiate these things. We have experienced many different phases of political instability, and political instability in our case were politically motivated, ethnic division, violence and crime, and those were the very reasons why a lot of people like Ruth and many others would have fled Guyana. And that is why today we have a large diaspora. We are a country with a population of just 750,000 people, and we have more than 1 million people living abroad. So that's one of the historic context in terms of why so many people fled Guyana. So as a result of that, today we have, if there was a labor force study that was conducted by the IDB, and if you look at a labor force survey, you would see that out of the total labor force, which is about 500,000, we have less than 1% of the labor force that are qualified at the level of tertiary education, that is masters and PhD. If I add a bachelor's degree in there, we would have less than 5%. So that tells you of our peculiar uh, development challenges historically: political instability, periods of political instability, mass migration, and so on. Now, where is Guyana headed? Now, let me say this now. A lot of people, when they look at what is happening with the country, and even economists in the Caribbean, I mean, this guy who used to be the economist at CDB, he's in a group with me, Justin, and him, along with many others, we were a part of a conversation, and this is the view of many Guyanese as well, and perhaps people in the diaspora, that Guyana now needs a master plan. Guyana needs a development strategy. But what a lot of people don't know is that Guyana is not lacking a development strategy. There is such a development strategy that was developed during the period 1994 to 1996. And that was under President Cherry Jagan, the late Cherry Jagan. Now, that strategy was built by over 200 Guyanese stakeholders from all across sections of society, including private sector. Now, if you examine that strategy, all right, if you examine that strategy, which is very comprehensive, you would see that from every single national budget from 1997 to 2014, that development strategy was implemented incrementally through those budgets. The reasons why it was never fully implemented are because of those challenges during the year. 1997, you had a period of instability as well. So if you look at the developments that are taking place now, we talk about, if you read the news and read a lot of the presidential speeches by His Excellency himself, you're hearing things like Deepwater Harbor. You're hearing things like renewable energy, hydropower. You're hearing things like a road connecting Brazil and Guyana. You're hearing things like another bridge connecting, another bridge across the Demerara River. You're
More
hearing
accessible farmlands and things.
all these development projects that are being talked about and that are being advanced. They are not new. They were not conceptualized last night. They were not conceptualized 5 years ago. They were conceptualized since 1996. All right, and it's in that document. You will see it. The expansion of the airport, the expansion of our main international airport, the transformation of the Ogle Airport to international standard, where we need to build more airstrips, where we need to land road, and an important point in that development strategy is that in that strategy, it was recognized because of where Guyana is situated, where most of the population is concentrated. Over more than 50% are in region 4 and region 3, which we call the low coastal plain, and that is below sea level. That strategy recognized that we need to move development further south, more inland. And
Indeed.
so when you
But
look at where
before we get into, because that's something I want to come to as well, and to understand a little bit more. So I just want to also just give people a little bit context of why and how, the oil finds is actually an important thing within Guyana in the context of how it is with the rest of the world. And just looking here at relative to population, what the production or the potential production of oil is in Guyana as compared to some of the other names that you might know, as far as Kuwait and UAE and Libya, Iraq, Venezuela, and what's not. Guyana is actually sitting top of the heap at the moment where that's concerned. When we think about OPEC as well, and we look here, Guyana will be sitting at number 12. And I think not even that 5.5 probably might have been an earlier number, because I think it's probably a little bit higher than that now, probably pushing around 8, 9 or something like that as well. So, it's important for the Caribbean and for our audience to understand this as well, that when we say the rise of Guyana, is not just, this is at a level, potentially at a level that the region has not seen,
Absolutely.
so that's something that we should take into context. So, Lance, I see you there. So we just to bring you into the conversation from an excitement level. Are people feeling excited? You're on mute, Lance.
Lance is muted. I was going to add something else there, Andre, because Joel was talking quite a bit about strategy and that there's strategies that existed since the 1990s. But we all know if you have a strategy and you don't have culture, and as you say, excitement, if there's not a culture of excitement and people are really bought into that, it goes nowhere. So I think it's a good question. I'd like to hear from Lance about, is he excited? He's so excited he's lost his voice.
I can't hear you, Lance. Oh no, still can't hear you.
Yeah.
No.
Probably got
Are you there now?
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
got you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry, this mic is this headset is giving a bit of problems. Yeah, there's no question that there is. I want to use a different word. I want to use hope.
Okay.
I think there are two words. There's hope and there's potential. And let me touch on potential for a few minutes. I think for the 54 years that Guyana has been independent, the word potential has been like a theme through those years. We were supposed to be the regional bread basket and the food basket, and for all the minerals and the other wealth and the water and all the things that we were gifted with as a nation. There has always been this argument that we should be a lot further ahead than we are. In terms of GDP, I think we're about the fourth largest behind Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, Suriname, things like that. So there's always been a sense of there's always been a feeling, I think, that we should have been a lot further ahead than we are at the moment. So the hope now is with this go around, and certainly with the being on the cusp of being a significant player in oil and gas. There's hope now that in this time we're going to get to where we should be. We're going to get to where we should be in terms of economics, in terms of being able to raise the standard of living, being able to generate more revenue, more employment, wealth creation, all those things that we see other countries experience. There is the hope now is that we really get to that point where we could be what it is that everybody expected us to be and what everybody thought that we would be over all these years. Of course, as Joel mentioned, there are challenges. Skill set, capacity. Our political environment is not the healthiest. Our governance, one may say as well that it's not, it's not in the best of shape. We have just come through a rather painful experience in terms of an election period. So, and that has caused a bit of social damage, I think. In our relationships and how we integrate and how we associate, and so there's been some bruising, and I think we got to clear those things up. So I think the word is we are hopeful. We are hopeful that this comes to pass, and with all the challenges that we have and the difficulties that we have, the ability to provide the sort of comfort that that is necessary for everyone to feel comfortable. I believe that the benefits and the revenues that are projected to be received are dispensed in a way that everyone is comfortable. The developmental plans that Joel mentioned about will come to fruition. You name it: communication, infrastructure, diversification of the economy, with the understanding that oil has a finite life, and to understand how do you move this money around? How do you strengthen agriculture? How do you strengthen, how do you build an ICT productive sector, which is possibly that you could use to export a range of services. So there are a lot of things that you're going to have to work on and think through. As was said before, yes, there are development plans. I would submit that with the advent of oil and gas and the potential of it, it may need some tweaking because of the role that will play in the economy and within the overall macroeconomic framework. So the time is now to begin to roll our sleeves up and really get to work, because we really owe them. I think we have a responsibility to this nation and its people to make sure that that this time around we fulfill that dream and we take advantage of what's before us.
So let me jump back to Ruth there again, because I mean what you're saying there, Lance, and I know we're talking about a significant amount of revenue, the likes of which we've never seen before. And how would you, Ruth, like to see that translated down to the ordinary citizen? How would you like to see them sharing in this newfound wealth that's coming the nation's way?
Right. So as I'm sure most of you gentlemen would know, the idea of trickle-down economics has been sort of critiqued as to whether and there are different schools of thought about whether a landfall of business and finance actually trickles down to the people, the grassroots people who really need it. If development, there we go again, or growth or evolution is not seen as something that really needs a process that needs to include everybody. What has happened in the Caribbean is we still hold on to this notion of maximum leadership, and we still hold on to the idea that government and governance must, in a way, and I'm happy to hear Joel talk about the fact that part of the plan was to move further down south, because that in a way moves away from what I'm going to talk about now, which is the centralization of power, right? What a lot of Guyanese are afraid of is that power, and by power I mean connections, the people who have connections, resources, networks, who are already well off and in a position to take advantage of what is now Guyana's reality. That all that's simply going to happen is that there's going to be a concretization or a coalescence around that central network, and that the people aren't really going to benefit. And by benefiting, I don't just mean grants from governments, a little extra bonus for public servants at Christmas time. We're talking a lot of things that Lance would have spoken about. We're talking diversification. So another concern, and I know I'm going all over the place here, but
no, go ahead.
It's all linked. Another concern is Dutch disease, which we know about as well, which is basically when one sector gets a windfall or is doing really well, because the state is under so much pressure to provide for its people, or to at least appear to be providing, because that's a totally different story, right? And we all know the position that countries like Trinidad and Guyana find themselves in, where there is a divide along ethnic lines. So you really are under pressure, even more so, to look as if you're doing something for your people in that really short 5-year span, right? The challenge is that we're afraid that in that rush, we are going to forget some of the things that make Guyana so unique. We're going to forget about our agriculture. We're going to forget about, and we're not saying we're going to, I'm not saying we're going to forget, I'm saying we're hoping that we do. Forget about our agriculture, forget about our very unique position as a gateway between the Caribbean North America, South America.
South America.
That whole geopolitical
Yeah.
issue right there, that we're gonna forget that 85% of our land mass, and our land mass, by the way, is over 200,000 square kilometers. That 85% of that is forest.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to forget that that forest is the richest and the purest in the world because it is part of the Amazon. And that in being part of the Amazon, there are myriads of ways in which we could talk evolution, in which we can talk growth, in which we can talk
and capitalize on it.
and capitalize on ecosystems, capitalize on cultures, because we have indigenous people. We have people living there in ways that they have been living for thousands of years with knowledge and understanding that has not yet fully been tapped. So for me, I told Andre, when Andre asked me to be part of this panel, I said, Andre, my perspective and my point of view is very contentious, you know?
No, but we need all of them. That's what I said.
Makes you agree in the right place.
So for me, it might be also where I stand on the political ideological divide, because like I said, we're excited and like Lance said, we're hopeful. But the other side of this is I feel as if Guyana, and maybe not even Guyana, Exxon, more realistically, might be capitalizing. We can come to Exxon later because I got a few questions around that. Yeah, might be capitalizing on something that is actually at its end. That is actually.
That is a very fabulous point.
That is actually, it has peaked.
Yes.
It has peaked, and yes, countries did take advantage of that peak, but we never got a chance to.
Yeah,
and we are now being sold something that is tapering off.
Yeah,
globally.
Fabulous
and
point.
And even though there is much to be gained from that, I'm not arguing that there is much to be gained from that. A lot of us are afraid that we will lose sight of the fact that because this is tapering off globally, we need to be using and utilizing what we already have, which is a wealth of indigenous and cultural knowledge and understanding, which is a fabulous ecosystem and resources. So I just wanted to I just wanted to bring that back as well.
No, that is such a fabulous point.
A great point.
That's really.
I want to come back on that, but Laurent is bursting to get in.
Yeah.
So,
well, here's the thing. After Joel's history, Lance's history into the present, and Ruth's current, I don't even know if I have to say anything else here, because that
doesn't sound like
Guyana happening. But here's the thing, and I'm kind of deeper into what's happening in terms of a little bit more of the attention in terms of what's happening locally. Joel is there, Lance is there. Lance has been doing education and IT. Joel is at oil energy. He's been doing a bit. And one thing on which was always my concern, which Ruth touched on, is what happens to our other sectors. As it stands right now, I can say at this point in time, the drive I've seen within the last few months, let me talk about changing of government, because I think when we talk about the discussion, we're talking about what happened from August 1 coming forward. There has been a renewed vigor in education, not only because of the pandemic. There's been a renewed vigor in agriculture. A lot is happening there. So it comforts me that our traditional sectors are being boosted. Government announced 45 measures when they took over in August, and a lot of it trying to boost the manufacturing and the production arm, because at this stage, Ghana is really trying to restart its economy, kickstart its economy, knowing that we are forecast to grow. And the good thing about Ghana is that Ghana has always been insulated. We've never had much foreign direct investment. With oil and gas, now we're going to get a lot more of that.
I was going to say it's on steroids now, from what I see.
Well, yeah. The point I made when we had the global downturn back in, I think it's 08, 09, if my memory serves me right, is that Ghana was insulated. Ghana was one of the countries that didn't really feel the effects of it because of our agriculture sector and our traditional sectors. And as they say, gold don't spoil, land don't spoil. We have a lot of that. Minerals don't spoil. And so we were able to pretty much continue. It might have slowed a fraction, but not to the extent. And I go back to the example of Patrick Manning, God rest his soul, then when he was prime minister, when he said during the downturn, Trinidad and Tobago could not afford to stop spending. If it stopped spending, its economy was going to contract and it would not progress. And he was going towards developed country status for 2020. And in some respects, that happened because there were people who were panicking. Well, if you continue spending, we're going to run out of money. And so he was forced. Thanks, dude. He was forced to. I got my extra one side. He was forced to. Trinidad suffered politically at that stage, and then it morphed into economics. He was forced to do that, and a lot of projects, in my estimation, would have been stalled. So at this stage, yes, we're restarting an economy, but there seems to be a focus on our traditional sectors at this point. I'm comforted by that. The question I had while I was in Trinidad, and I've had a few discussions on TV6 and so, what happens to Guyana in terms of, well, you're now supposed to get all this money from oil. What are you going to do with the money? I said, well, if you've got a developmental plan or a roadmap, I think Joel referred to that, maybe not in that exact terminology, I'm summarizing here. Guyana needs a plan that can continue regardless of who sits in power.
Right.
And there is not a discussion of what happens. How do we go forward? Do we lose sight of it? And that is where the challenge will come if we lose sight of the fact that there needs to be a roadmap for Guyana. In 5 years, this is where we want to go. In 10 years, this is where we should be.
A roadmap for the next 30 years, to be honest.
The next 30 years.
So, which also maps as
wants to go to developed country status.
But as Ruth was saying, that development plan must factor in the potential, the very likely potential of the downturn of oil as well. And while the financial gains might be short term, and short term for me, I'm thinking next 10 years or so, because people will start to transition away from oil to more biofuels and different things. What are you going to do with that windfall you're going to get over the next 10 years to make sure you invest in?
I think the development, I think Ghana is still going to benefit from it. I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. That is a concern because Barbados is moving to solar for quite a bit, moving away from it. But the reality of the situation is our region, I don't think a lot of countries in Latin America, Central America can afford to move away from traditional oil and gas at this stage. The developed countries, yes, are going to move, but I still think we stand to benefit. And this is where I think our markets will still, maybe not as much as we think we should have been getting had the world still been doing oil and gas and not moving away. But I still think we're going to benefit.
Yeah.
I was just going to comment there again, coming back to Ruth's point as well. You know, from the time she mentioned we have forests, we have indigenous people.
Yeah, we can see you, Leron. Don't worry.
I suddenly had this feeling of, you know, that this is really significant. You know, we might be setting our eyes on development, on looking at chasing after a specific new stream of revenue, and have an idea of how that's going to transform the nation, and take our eyes off of the ecology and take our eyes off of sustainability of our forests, and not suddenly exploiting our forests because there's a new vision of what development means. How are people being engaged in that conversation? And by people, I mean the entire population, including indigenous people. How are they being brought into that conversation, allowed to have a voice and a say and a perspective on what comes next? Is that happening?
But I also think, however, that there's some things I think we need to understand almost immediately. I don't think we have a choice in terms of diversification. The mechanics of oil and the methodology. Oil is no longer that massive employer that it would have been 15 years ago, or it would have been 20 years ago, where you've got a lot of hard labor going in and stuff like that. This is about technology. This is about this, the kind of technology that they use now, which one person could manage in certain areas, is absolutely amazing when you take a look at what they're doing now. So yes, you're going to get the revenues in, but quickly you're going to have to move towards billing out the rest of the economy, because the money is going to come in, but it's not going to create as much direct employment as people think it will.
The sector is smaller now.
Right. So the sector is small, and the sector is more technology driven. I mean, we were working on a project.
And a lot of that oil is not coming to shore.
And it's not coming to shore. Right. So therefore the start of second.
So it's just the service industry, really.
Right. So the second level industries that
so
you
royalties is where the money's coming from.
Right. So therefore it's almost an imperative that you begin to diversify now. And get on that track, because you still need to create employment. You still need to get. Not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody is going to be a businessman. Not everybody is going to be able to supply the kind of services that are required. And I don't care how downstream you go. It's just the reality that there are things that you're not going to be able to supply. So what do? I'm also interested in this movement south, because I believe in organic growth. Because first of all, the concern that you're going to have is that if all the economic action is going to be in Georgetown, this happens everywhere in the world. People are going to move from New Amsterdam, they're going to move from Linden, they're going to move from Bartica, and next thing you know, you got severe overcrowding. Georgetown roughly, optimally, Georgetown works well with about 150,000 people. Right? Okay. We're now looking at about 275. Joel may have a more accurate figure, but I think we're looking at about 275,000 people in Georgia. And the city, as it currently stands, with a low tax base, with a low tax revenue, the city simply cannot provide the services that are required. Could you imagine when this starts to pick up more? You can't take off 350,000 and stuff like that. So what has to happen now is the macroeconomic plan, where you start to build out New Amsterdam, you start to build out Bartica, you start to build out Linden. So these become, these start to get. You begin to put in the communication. If you begin to put in the rest of infrastructure. So after a time, people begin to realize that they don't have to come to Georgetown. Or in certain cases, they can leave Georgetown and go to Bartica. They can leave Georgetown and go to New Amsterdam. So it is how you build out to make sure that other parts of the country. There's an old baseball movie where they said, if you build it, they will come.
They will come.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is building that out. Make these towns, and this also takes political maturity as well, because what you're talking about is devolution of power.
Yeah, and that is extremely difficult to achieve.
Right, and that is tough anywhere in the region.
Absolutely.
Right, so what you're talking about is devolution from the center. So you're giving the towns more independence, and the mayor and town councils, or the mayor and city councils, they're stronger. You're making your own decisions. You got true local government and stuff like that. And that is something that we are not accustomed to that.
No.
I put my hand up here. I want Lance and whoever else to talk some more about this, because one of the issues that I was going to raise, I think I tried to raise it, was the idea of community and the idea of power structures and growth from the grassroots, from the community level, which is really what Lance is talking about. So when I mentioned maximum leadership, that is what I was trying to get to. Lance, talk some more about this, please. This is really important.
Well, remember, and I make a point all the time. There's a Guyanese saying, we ain't bring up so. We ain't get bring up like that. We have always understood. We've always understood that you got the president, you got the prime minister, you got a thing, and you got a government, and there all things must flow. I'll tell you a short story. I remember the flood in 2005. And so, the whole lower East Coast, with a population of about 120,000 people underwater. And, a lot of villages there. So, and I remember being part of teams going into villages to say, well, look, man, come on, here's some spades, here's some shovels, here's some buckets, here's some things. let's get some self-help going with the local councils and stuff like that. Okay. That was one of the more difficult things I ever saw, trying to get done in my life in terms of getting that machinery moving at a local level to respond, because we have always had, all the years, we have had this democratic centralism or socialist centralism, party paramountcy, whatever it is you want to call it. But everything flowed from the top.
Indeed.
So now, and it's critical now, because when all this money is moving around, when all this thing and this newfound wealth and stuff like that, you're going to have to look at flattening your governance. You don't have a choice.
I agree.
Because you can't manage it by yourself.
Bridget, let me come back to that. So at some point, we look at a lot of stuff locally, and I really want to take it regionally as well, the conversation. But even before we do that, to take it regionally and understand how the region can, participate as well, and how Guyana can also lead the region. But someone asked a question there earlier about, has those inflows, are they being seen already? Joel, I want to bring you in here. And also, as talk about context earlier, is, we look at potentially what the reserve level is like. But do you have a value over the next few years, Joel, of what kind of money we're talking about and growth in the economy that you can see?
Yes, Andre. I have some estimations. I've done some number crunching of my own. Of course, these are estimations. These are not accurate figures. But I want to jump on a few points that the other commentators like Lance and Leroy and Ruth made, and touch on some of those and link it back to your direct question. The point that Lance or Heinz was just making.
Lance.
He began by talking about culture. And the point he was stressing has to do with our culture. And all of us here who are guidees have recognized that we don't have a choice. And I love that point that Heinz made. We don't have a choice. We have to make it work. We've had 50 years, 54 years, and we know about all of our potential in minerals and water and land and resources. We have to make it work. Now, the big problem why it never worked, which I referenced a little bit in my introduction, is largely our political environment and social structure. Yeah. Now, I want to say this. For this country to move and to implement all the plans that we have, yes, we need to tweak that plan to include the oil sector. We need to make it happen, we as in the people. And I always like to say that there is an opportunity in everything, whether bad or good. As we speak, the world and the region is with Guyana with respect to the territorial claim on Essequibo by Venezuela. The position of the entire country on that one single matter alone, there is all political group, there is cooperation. There is no divide where that is concerned. Okay. Maybe now that because of oil, now that because of Guyana's geopolitical importance, that border issue might be a little bit hyped up by Venezuela and whoever is supporting them. Maybe this is the opportunity for Guyana political leaders, for our political leaders to unite and to have real inclusive governance. There is no other way. If the political environment is not healthy, then all these plans are not going to happen. And so we as a people, we need to seize this opportunity, not only to protect our territorial integrity, but also as a people, this kind of unity and solidarity at the political level must continue in our development. When you look at a development plan, it's for the next 50 years. We just need to tweak it to put oil in there. Now, let's jump on the regional outlook. What are we going to do with all this money? Where do we? So here and again, I want to make another important point. When we talk about opportunities, development opportunities, when we talk about growth, when we talk about business opportunities, the business opportunities, whatever it is, whatever field you're in, are developing countries, because there is so much to do, and all those problems that we have are opportunities to solve them. All
Absolutely.
right.
Well said.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that Leroy mentioned that he's comforted because we've seen that, and I'm also comforted because I've seen the direction that the government is moving towards. They're moving towards. They seem to be serious about what they set out to do. So I'm comforted by that. They're also serious about engaging the diaspora. They're also serious about engaging the diaspora, and there talks about launching a diaspora strategy. Now that is important because now we have to reverse the migration problem we've had over the past 2-3 decades.
Yeah.
We now need Ruth to come back. We need everybody
Yes.
else to come back. All right.
Ruth.
We need our people. We need our skills. We need the money. You have to come and invest. And all the problems, we must see them as opportunities to solve them
Yeah.
together as a people. Now, let's talk now about the regional focus. The CARICOM market in agriculture alone, this is the time to make that breadbasket ideology or that breadbasket dream a reality. The CARICOM market alone is a $4 billion to $10 billion
Yes.
US. CARICOM imports over $4 billion a year. We just need 10% of that, and we don't need oil. So we have to use the resources. In 5 years from Liza 1 alone, within the first 10 years at $45. I've done some rough calculations. We could earn from one project, one development alone, $6 billion US.
Okay.
That's more. That's almost double our
Oh,
GDP, our current GDP.
But from
Right.
now, what period are you thinking that could potentially be realized? What, over the next 5 years, 10 years? What?
Over the next 5 years, we could earn potentially $2 billion a year. After the next 5 years, coming down to the second cycle, that could go up eventually to 4 and 6 billion, because that's only one well. You can have other wells, other drilling is going to take place. So from one well alone, over the next 5 years, we could make about $2 billion in revenues. Now, I want to touch a little bit on Ruth trickle-down economics. And yes, there are a lot of school of thought. There has to be a combination when we talk of trickle-down economics. And this is where, again, when you look at our community and the structure of our community and the culture of our people, one of the things, from my experience in banking, when a community businessman who runs a simple shop comes for a loan, one of the reasons why these businesses have a hard time getting access to a loan is not because the banks don't like to lend them, but because they don't have proper structure. They don't have the tools. We need to equip them. We need to train them. Simple thing like financial management, cash flow management, apart from the other limitations, right? So there's a lot of work to develop our people, to develop the skills of our people, to empower our people, and in empowering our people, so you can have the community economy thriving. And that is important.
That has to start in the schools, if I can jump in there, Joe.
Oh yes, absolutely. We have to, we need to have an entire overhaul of our curriculum. We need to stop teaching students to memorize. Look, a device has all the knowledge you need to know. Knowledge is not memory. Knowledge is knowing how
to apply.
we need to develop skills. We need to move
I have
away
to make
from
sure my
knowledge
son is not watching this
to
episode.
building competencies, to building skills. Right? People graduate from university. You put them to do a job. They can't write a proper report. They can't. They can't demonstrate critical thinking. You got to train them all over again. So our entire education system, from the curriculum, not just the teachers, the curriculum needs to overhaul.
So let's go up a level here, because you kept that regional conversation deliberately at the diaspora, and I understand that, because that is very, very.
Let me come to the regional. No. I want to touch a little bit on everything. Right now,
go ahead.
The regional.
Go ahead.
Now, let's assume that all that I just said and all that you have just said, all the right things happen. We have political maturity. Now, And I've actually written a conference paper on Guyana's geopolitical importance, where it could become a regional powerhouse. And this is the essence of the paper, which I'm now going to say to you in response to that question, that burning question.
Okay.
Guyana, we now have to look at Guyana beyond Guyana's potential. We now
Agreed.
have to look at Guyana from a
100%.
regional perspective.
That's why we're having this conversation.
All right.
What does regional
That's why
perspective
we're
mean?
here.
This is where we have to leverage our geopolitical importance, our geographic strategic location that Ruth referred to earlier, to lead a lot of regional integration agenda. For example, let's take two projects. The road connecting Brazil, and that was on the agenda for many, many years. The road linking Brazil to Georgetown. That the feasibility of that road is dependent on building a deep water harbor, whether in Demerara or Berbice, so that it goes hand in hand, so that Brazil goods could move through Guyana to the rest of the world. Now, in the same development plan that I spoke of from 1996, also talk, as you know, in the colonial days, we had railway system. That strategy talks about relooking at the feasibility for railway. Now,
I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm taking it a step further, and I'm saying that with the oil, what we could earn from oil in the next decade, not this decade, in the next decade, we now have to look seriously at railways. But we can't look at railways only connecting Guyana. We have to look at railways connecting the region, connecting South America. Because with a deepwater harbor and railways connecting South America, it means we could move more South American countries' goods through Guyana. That's the Panama Dubai model we're talking about. So we have to now move the conversation. We have to move the national conversation and look at Guyana not as Guyana, a small South American country. We have to look at Guyana from a regional perspective. From
It's a regional
all
hub.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so that is the potential that we need to exploit, and we need to push our political leaders to advance. We need a South American Development Bank. If we're going to talk about integrating South America, if we're going to talk about building rails, where the money going to come from? Of course, we're not going to take all the oil money. That won't be enough. Everybody connecting South America, everybody got to pay for it. Guyana alone can't pay for it. All right. So we got to start looking at developing our regional capital market. We got to start looking at the South American Development Bank. All right. We got to start as a region, drive the regional agenda where Guyana could lead, and what do we need the other countries to do? All right.
Yeah.
So that is my perspective, Andre. I think I have given you more than the 45 minutes. I'm gonna stay just for another 5 minutes.
Wait, he's jumping out.
I told you you were
He's
going to
jumping
stay
out.
longer.
He gave you 45 minutes.
Yes, Joel did indicate
Jumping
he
out.
wasn't going to be able to stay.
If,
Bring him over and go.
if I can also,
Go ahead.
jump in here, it is not that the region is unfamiliar with a large economic player in its midst. For all the years, that was the role of Trinidad and Tobago.
Fair enough.
So, in terms of relating and in terms of doing that, again in a modern sense, but there will probably be that sort of role that Guyana will possibly play in the region, which is similar to that one, just by virtue of potentially having the strongest economy in the coming years. So, how do you relate to each other? What role Guyana plays in a supporting under supporting and growth framework? I mean, there's going to be a limit to the growth of the small islands just because of the challenges that they have. So how do they fit in? How do they fit into this new matrix in terms of how we all grow together and stuff? We do a lot of work together informally. I mean, certainly in the field, it is automatic in terms of colleagues working in other parts of the region, other parts of the world, and you're already working together. It's just how you tighten that up and how you really achieve that integration again, as we have been talking about for so long. in terms of doing that. And again, this is also that opportunity as well. I would say to you, however, that Guyana is not, because of the speed at which Guyana is moving at the moment. As I think I said to you guys yesterday, it is Guyana and the Caribbean and Guyana and the entire world. So every day the Americans are here, the Canadians are here, the English are here,
of course,
the guys from Dubai and the guys from Bahrain and the guys from Qatar, the guys from Ghana, everybody is here. So
where are the guys from the Caribbean?
Right, you know, and so this is the point. This is the point.
Trinidad is here.
Right, yeah, well, Trinidad is here, and Trinidad, by virtue of the experience that they have in this field, quite a few Trinidadian companies come in and are doing what I would consider to be good business, and have put down significant roots here while they're doing that. So I say that to make the point that let us not wait, and this is not only for the regional citizens, this is also for the diaspora. Please, I beg you, don't wait until you get any sort of official framework that you walk under, because if you
so you get an invite.
Yeah, you know, so if you wait until you get the formal invitation, let me tell you, there's a saying called there's a saying called "Cat eat your dinner," and if you don't move, I mean, to my colleagues all the time, stop fretting about the lack of the engagement framework and the thing. If you come bags and come, because everybody else packing the bags and coming.
Already on the way.
Yeah. I want to ask a quick question here.
We're taking it for granted that we will come and we will know somebody who will know somebody who will know somebody to get us.
And don't make that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Liron would tell you about the amount of. I mean, every once in a while in the news, he would get up and tell you about how many companies are registered today or how many last week. And every time he calls that number is 20, 25, 50. And all these, this is what you're dealing with, and so you know you gotta move. You have to move. During this coming week, there's going to be Exxon is hosting through content framework a suppliers forum, and you're going to see the signups. And because it's remote and because it's online, everybody's going to be there to see.
But let me ask you a point about that then, because are we in danger then of the opportunity, especially the initial wave, bypassing us as Caribbean people, because we're sitting in the hedges waiting to see how this is actually going to frame itself, when by the time we get interested, the opportunity gone.
Yes, you're in rail. Because this is business. If I get foothold. Once I get that foothold, I'm going to want to build on that. So even if I fall in on the initial piece of action, I'm going to make sure I go after the rest. So by the time you come, there's limited space.
Yes.
So, Hallie, here is a reality that you have. You got Halliburton. Halliburton is one of the big global players, right?
Yeah.
And so Halliburton does all the deep sea engineering. You know, Halliburton connects the. You know, you've got the FPSOs, which are the float.
Is that
connection down to the waterbed? Huh?
Dick Cheney, I think it is Halliburton.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yes.
So these are the big boys, right? So they start out. They work on the undersea delivery technology to move from under the beds to the FPSO and the pressure and the engineering and stuff like that. But my friends, Halliburton has a company called Brown and Root. They sell food. Right? They do catering. They are taxi services. Okay.
Real diversity.
Right. And so the point I make is that the things, you may be in a position and company to say, well, look, I'm from the Caribbean, so I could come down and have sell food and sell things and stuff like that, because so there should be some sort of room for me. That's not guaranteed.
No.
Because everybody is coming all hands on deck, and with coming in with both feet. Can't even assume that downstreaming that work is automatically yours, because some of these big boys are have secondary companies that do that as well.
Yeah, and they think about everything from a strategic perspective.
Exactly, and they're not
and how they can keep the money circulating within
precisely amongst themselves, because they are shareholders at the end of the day.
Exactly. But see, Alison just asked just now if there's any framework by Rich to facilitate regional investment so that people don't be just coming as laborers.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to your point before. Don't wait. Come and find out. Don't wait to hear about it. Or wait to hear.
But let me jump in and see if I can answer Alison's question.
Sure.
There are a few things happening. There was always talk about this local content policy. There is a Center for Local Business Development, which I think is being run by Exxon. A high school friend of mine is the deputy director there. There's a lot of training going on. Everything is online, as you said, and the opportunities are there. So there are a lot of companies who are coming in. I know of a few Trinidadian companies who are coming in and partnering. Part of the requirement for you to do business in Ghana in this oil and gas industry in particular is that you must partner with a local company. As in, no foreign company, whether you're from the region or outside of the region, can come here and set up and operate on its own. If you don't have a local partner, you will not get through. So the one about the Caribbean people coming as laborers, it depends on what you're coming as. One, I've got a few colleagues who've asked me in Trinidad, hey, I want to get inside. They've done the oil and gas training. Do they just come and go into the system? Once they're inside and they're registered, they get through. But there have been a number of investors, a lot from Trinidad. I'm not too sure about the Jamaicans and the Barbadians at this point, but mainly Trinidad and Tobago because of its history with oil and gas. There may be some Jamaicans here. I'm not too sure that they might be in the minority at this point in time. But yes, there is an environment that is open, that says come in. Everything can be seen online. You check Exxon. Exxon has been pushing it. The bottom line, I see Ruth putting her hand down, so I know she's going to jump in here. Just one point.
No, I'm
but
good.
The reality situation is Exxon has been the one who's really been pushing to certify or to get the locals involved to understand what has to be, what has to be done, what is required. And you come in and you have to register as a vendor to be able to service any of these oil and gas companies. So yes, you can come as a person, but you must come as a person registered as a business. And registering for a local business in Ghana literally takes between 3 to 5 days. The red tape is now coming out. I know this because I registered myself as a business.
What you doing? You said 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days is what
I'm not going to miss.
I agree.
Commercial registry literally takes you 3 to 5. Literally takes you 3 to 5 days. And I learned that because when the FPSO vessel came here, was it last year or the year before? Might have been the year before.
Year before.
I was asked to co-host the year before, 2019. I was asked to co-host the vessel, the arrival of the vessel, celebrating the arrival of the vessel, and because of that. Having to be money.
Yeah, you're not.
Money.
I was told
cheese, buddy.
We just need to go in. It sounds strange, right? Like, why can't you just call me? Everybody knows Leron Brown, but I had to register myself as a vendor, and these are what these are what the companies are doing. Yes, you might be a single or two-person operation, but you can't come with 2 names. You have to be registered as a company. So yes, foreigners can come in. They need to find local companies, and this is what these trade fairs. I see GPEX or GIPEX, depends on who's pronouncing it. Is doing in the last 3-4 years. There's been an annual meet and greet where locals connect with foreigners or foreigners connect with locals, and they go forward and move from there. So there has been a lot of investment. A lot of talk of investment, as Lance said. You're going to see 20. You're going to hear about 20 today, later. Ruth, I've been trying to get doubles to come to Trinidad. Please bring it when you're coming. Come with the best.
you mean when Trinidad lets us out?
Yeah.
Getting back in is the problem.
That is the problem, but I didn't want to say that on UB Global.
That's
then
right.
again, these people will be like, "Oh God, why are you leaving us again? Why you want to go back to Trinidad?" I never heard that debate right now. So
well, let me say now, since I'm over here and I'm probably not going to go over until this border opens. You can get out, but you can't get back in.
You can't get back in.
Two things there were
Trinidad's COVID response is pretty excellent, and their numbers are down, but I don't know. I think very soon they really need to look at their economy because of the restrictions at this point and trying to keep it going. But again, it comes down to culture and it's carnival time. Listen, Ruth, I bet you the borders are going to open after Carnival Tuesday.
they think it's really a strategic move.
It's a strategic move. The borders are going to open after Carnival in Trinidad.
I will message you on Facebook and we will have a discussion about this if it really happens after.
Next thing you know, those block my CSMA at the airport.
Well, guys, look, two things on the investment thing as well, because one of the things you were talking about, Laurent, was a lot about around oil and gas, but the ecosystem that's going to be around facilitating that and even the service industry is going to be so vast and wide that there will be tons of opportunities for people to get involved. But I want to ask a question here that might be a bit tricky. And I hope the people in the comments as well get involved as well, because, all right, so let me just go straight in.
Now go for it now.
In the 80s, 90s, and probably early 2000s, one could perceive that the region may not have been very kind.
Nicely put.
Everybody can see where you're going, you know. Everybody can see.
No, I get it in. Look, being it. Look.
Can you ask that question again? There was an audio dropout. Can you ask that question again? There was an audio dropout.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
That has nothing to do with your network connectivity.
No, I ask it that way because I'm going to let you guys, as Guyanese, express what you were feeling as to how the region was dealing with that. I put it this way, right? But you guys can express. So a question is Guyana open? I know at the macro level they might be, but are Guyanese open then to potentially, I say potential, the region now saying, well, hang on, I now want piece of that.
They're just coming.
It is not that.
And I want the people in the comments to get involved in this, because I think this is a regional conversation that needs to happen.
This is the question.
You know, for us to really capitalize on what's happened.
It is a good question, and it is not that conversation has not percolated in the various rooms and channels.
Right.
And,
I've seen it all over Facebook on the chat, so I've seen it. That's what I'm asking too.
Right, social settings. Certainly, because of our economic difficulties in those years, we have. There are instances, many of them, I believe, that some people can report that have not been encouraging, and so yes, that conversation is you certainly hear it at a certain level where people say, well, you know, all of a sudden it looked like we're getting money, and all of a sudden you want to come and you want to help and so on and so forth. Look, it's a natural thing, right? Everybody protects their own. That is a natural native response. I think despite that, however, you'll find that despite the murmurings and despite the fretting and stuff like that, coming to Guyana has never been a problem. Our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean who have come in and settled, come in with, I would argue, the greatest of ease in terms of coming in, operating business. Ansa McCall and Grace Kennedy and large, massive if you come into Guyana, you will certainly see the footprint of these Caribbean these Caribbean companies applying their trade and making lots of money, I would wager. I would also argue that, and sometimes it may well be that a Guyanese company might not find the similar level of comfort in other parts of the Caribbean, and that is something to be said. But in terms of going to hear that conversation, just as a function of our experiences, there's no getting around that. So that's going to be the hard conversation you're going to hear. But I don't think that should stop anyone from happening. I think, however, what Leron is talking about is about the partnership that's going to be essential. Come in with a genuine wish to partner with a local firm.
Company, yeah.
And companies and let's do it together. Let's not try to come in and decide that you want to make all the money and expatriate by yourself.
It's enough to go around.
There's going to be enough to go around.
Absolutely.
I think if you come in with the attitude that says, look, I looking to partner with a local business, let us see the skills that you bring to the table. Let's see what I bring to the table. And from there, let's move forward. The trouble I think you have sometimes is that you want to come in, you want to settle in, you want to hire your own people, bring your own people, bring in your own skills, bring in your own things and stuff like that. And I think that is where the resentment starts. I mean, I must tell you, you heard the complaints when the Trinidadian firms came in. They have strong working knowledge in the oil industry, obviously.
Yeah.
So they came in with the logistical companies and the shore-based services and coming in with some of the engineering and things and stuff like that. And there was some resentment that we come, you're coming to take me money. We just, we look like we get change, and the first thing we see is you at our doorstep trying to get it. All right? So, I mean, those are conversations. They're hard and they're going to be had.
Let's have them.
Yeah. This reminds me of that song. Ruthie, you know the song. Them that Scott shall have, them that's not.
So I was not going to tell you. If you guys will allow me. Do you mind having some music in your arm?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
So I actually wrote a song. A few years back about a friend's immigration experience in Trinidad and Tobago. And the second verse of the song goes like this. Living below, I'm not singing it, I'm stating the lyrics. Sorry. Living below the line, working from 5 to 9, sending it home to the kids and the wife, trying to stay afloat, quiet, don't rock the boats. They might send you back on the morning flight. But we're setting it straight tonight. Oh, sister, when I talk to you, tell me, what do you hear? Oh, sister, this is nothing new. We all came from somewhere. Oh, sister, we're traveling, passing to the land. I'm here. What you going to do about it? And I sang that song with the understanding that my challenge of I'm here, what you going to do about it, might get a Trini person in the audience upset enough to call immigration and find a way to get me out. But the point is, the point is that has been a very real experience for lots of Guyanese living in Trinidad and Tobago and living in other parts of the region.
Absolutely.
So I totally understand what you're talking about, but I also want to agree with what Lance would have said. I might be biased because I'm Guyanese. but we are a very warm and a very authentic.
That's very true. Very true.
People.
We're
a very what you see in a person's face is most likely who they actually are when you look at a Guyanese person. And the facade isn't as polished and it isn't necessarily as fake as it might be in other places. And so Guyanese tend to welcome strangers with open arms. We're known for that. And I would have wanted as well to add to what Lance was saying by saying that besides the big companies, like every other place, well, not every, but most places in the Caribbean, when you walk down a street in Georgetown or you walk down any streets, somebody would tell you there's a Vincentian family there, and that man at the corner come from Grenada or St. Lucia. And the Caribbean, we forget that we have traversed these islands, and in Guyana's case, the mainland territory, by boat. People moved, families and generations moved up and down the islands into South America for hundreds of, by boat. People, and so we think that, okay, CSME and a block here and a block there, or is literally a ripple in a river of movement that has been happening at the grassroots and community level for a really long time.
I would make.
Wait, because I want to hear Laurent come in on this point.
Sure.
He hasn't spoken on this.
Well, I'm going to come in at this point to say there are 3 Guyanese and 3 Bajans in the room. And everybody in the room knows what
That's only the beginning of a joke.
Get into your I've been to Barbados once in 2010. When Hurricane Thomas hit. I went to cover it when I was working in Trinidad. I'm there dressed with a tie all the way up to my neck. It's hot. Just got off the plane. I presented everything, my CSM and everything, and I got about a month to stay in Barbados. And my Trinidadian colleague, who was the cameraman, had all his equipment. He's sweating, he's running. And he automatically got 3 months. So he asked me, he said, how long are you here for?
Oh.
Yeah, well, I only get a month. So, but I get 3. You know. The sad reality is in the region, Guyanese were not viewed well. Most times, I don't think most of that has gone, but I think in recent times, if you've met most Guyanese, you'd realize the culture is a little different. Yes, we are a welcoming people, I say sometimes to the point, or we're so hospitable that we get dotish at times, that we give way the best and then realize we have nothing to eat or sleep on when we finish.
Okay.
The reality of the situation is that xenophobia will be anywhere, whether you're going there, whether you're coming here. In Trinidad, it was less for me because apparently I don't sound like a Guyanese. I got Bajan quite a bit.
Yeah.
So a colleague of mine told me I was uptown Guyanese, and in Trinidad talk, if you're uptown, it means you're from higher society. I don't know. So when she said he's uptown Guyanese, so I have to live with that. And when you hear your uptown Guyanese, the treatment was a little better than if they heard your raw Creole coming out.
Okay.
I'm teaching my son to speak Creole, by the way. His mother is not pleased.
Lovely.
my dear
and he's saying Wambai in this little very high pitched voice. You know? His mother is not pleased. Reality of the situation is though, let's get back serious. Guyana is open. Guyanese always look to welcome people because there's another friend, there's another country for us to go visit and stay at some point in time. They like to travel. Listen, they're going to. If you get the sense that there's xenophobia, that's from the old generation. I make no bones about that. Sorry, Lance, that's probably not Lance. Lance is a young fella from Long.
Thank you.
Age is just a number.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really from the older generation.
Mm.
And sadly, that older generation impacts one mind. It's 1 in 10 or 0.5 in 10 that still thinks that way. This younger generation, the millennials, and I think there's some 20-something for the younger people that come behind it. I'm still trying to understand, as old as that makes me sound. We really don't care where you're from, where you're going, how you end up here. The bottom line is if we could sit down and we can have a development, and a lot of people love that. And now there are a lot of companies, small, younger businesses that are selling branded Guyanese merchandise, and it was impossible to find those things. When you got here, I don't mind my Brazil shirt. Sorry, it's the yellow and the green is usually associated with Guyanese national colors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's why you're wearing it.
Yeah.
That's why I can pull out my sneakers if you want.
You can find the
Okay,
Guyanese
yeah,
shirt.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Sneakers. I got the Guyanese type sneakers from a Guyanese living overseas. But now you're seeing there's a lot more pride and a lot more patriotism in Guyanese across the divide, wherever they are now. And that's a good system because we're connecting on. And when I moved back here a few years ago, before I took up the newsroom where I was, I told them, I said, you need to stop looking at Guyana in this bubble and realize that we're a global village at this point in time.
Yeah.
And we welcome everybody inside of this village because I met some great people. I met a few Jamaican people. One of them is the godmother for my child. She's now back in Jamaica. I met Bajans, and so our circle was so big that you realize that there are a lot of similarities. Everybody is the same. It's just that, it's the older generation who really want to say, well, nobody should share in our pie. And that has changed. I'm liking that has changed. The posture here has been, Guyana is open for business. Just come, we got space. I could rent your room at some point in time. Airbnb. I'm just advertising here out front.
Yeah. That's obvious.
We'll send you the invoice.
Tour guide, taxi driver.
Once you register.
I'm surprised you don't got a sign.
You already said, yeah.
Rommel's Media and Consultancy.
I thought I'd ask that question because I think, as Lance said, it's one of those things that we just need to put on the table, talk about, and move past it. And I think even for Guyana itself to fully realize, as we were talking before, that potential, that's still a conversation that needs to be had. And I think it's in a position now to really lead the region through this time and coming out of this time. I really think that Guyana is going to be one of those places that holds the key to help the rest of the region, because the next couple of years, tourism ain't coming back. Tourism ain't coming back for a few years to a good level for most of the region. So I think there's an opportunity there, for Guyana to take some advantage of that. But those conversations,
like Canada's advertising, we need people. We need people to help us. Right along the coastline, and all here was yet untapped.
I want to comment on that there because
it's not enough to develop there. If we're going to move
in most places,
everybody is welcome, but we really need to have that discussion.
You have a country. What? We got 200,000 square kilometers worth of space.
Yeah.
We have 750,000 people in that space. This is a country that could take off 20 million without even straining. And I mean, it's we need the people, we need the skills and stuff like that. The preference would be, I believe, that if a lot of those skills come from the region, but they have to be ready to come down. But there's a lot of work to do. Yeah. A lot of things to do. It is not it is an exciting road, but it's not an easy road.
No, it won't be.
Anybody coming in here, there are challenges. There is administrative challenges, there's jurisdiction challenges, there's, the bureaucracy and potential graft, whatever it is, whatever it is that countries at our stage experience and undergo, you can undergo that. But a lot of it is just just coming up and rolling rolling sleeves, and it's not high expectation, but a lot of it is coming into work and coming in to say, look, I'm here and I'm here to contribute, and nothing is wrong. What you get from that, you become a millionaire, you get rich, you get revenues, you get things, and so it's your right to do it. It is a function of the effort that you put in, right?
Okay.
You could go from there, but this is not, and this is what, and this is for you in England, and
we're listening carefully. We're listening carefully. Don't worry.
Yeah. I suspected that. But this is for you in England. This is for you in the United States and stuff. I mean, you've been out of the region, average 10, 15, 20 years and stuff like that. You've gotten trained, you've gotten skills, you got a thing. There are things that you could bring to the table. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And if you, and as a nation that needs, and that needs to fill out all of those skills as the economy becomes more complex, as the economy becomes more sophisticated, it's become more thing. The range of services and the demands, that's going to grow, that's going to go up as well. And I say this too, this is not necessarily you packing your bags and packing your grip and jumping on a plane and coming down here in some instances. I mean, technology allows us to be able to get work done.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily, it didn't necessarily mean that everybody got to pack their bags and come. Be like, it'd be nice for you to come. But
I come in. I want to come, man. I come in. So I got to come and at least experience it for a bit.
Leron,
please don't come with a grip.
bench.
Once we move beyond grips. Please.
What you said, Leron? I missed that.
I'm telling Andre, please don't come with a grip.
Come with
Guyanese have moved beyond grips since the 90s.
Listen,
The crocus bags and the grips, leave them things.
When you come with a suitcase, that could be a vacation. When you come with a grip, that's a more permanent state of affairs. You're telling people, well, yes, you're serious, and you come to plant some legacy and thing. This suitcase story, a temporary thing. You see, there you go. That's a problem. That's why they give you a month in Barbados, because
that's why you turn nobody in Portland.
Thank you.
Phil, where you were going, you were gonna ask something.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, well, I was rolling back a bit to education as we were talking about people coming and going and so on. And I thought about it, just thinking of Mark, Andre, and myself. Our initial journey out of Barbados was education. It was pursuing further education. And I think that's something that determines if people go, if people come, and if people stay as well when they start to think of their children. What's the situation in Guyana? And I'll especially look at the University of Guyana. Are there this development, does that include the University of Guyana? Are they part of that conversation? Is there a big vision for developing and expanding the faculty, the curriculum, the range of courses that are relevant for the region, but it could also be attractive for others to come and build up that sort of academic, let's say, business as well?
What has been nice and what has been quite progressive is the role that the major, the prime contractors in oil and gas have played, certainly with the University of Guyana. Halliburton, I think Halliburton and Exxon have committed to strengthening their technology and their engineering faculties. The introduction of a petroleum engineering curriculum and some other. So they're certainly getting that assistance at that level. I couldn't tell you how widespread it is, but certainly coming out of what you're seeing and what I have heard, the companies have really come in to provide direct inputs. Vocational, so like for example, the Guyana Technical Institutes that they have throughout. These companies have also helped and provided support for them to build out their academic capacity. We need high-end metal fabrication and dealing with these underwater pipes and so on and so forth. So it has certainly, everyone has come to the common sense conclusion that it makes far more sense to build skills within. In terms of strengthening them and providing skills for the local engineers and local guys to go out there and provide those services and get jobs. The Schlumberger and some of these other companies have taken a lot of. They have gone to the pilot training schools and flight schools and stuff, and they've taken quite a few of those guys who are engineers. Schlumberger has taken, a lot of those guys who might have gone to try and find a work as an aircraft mechanic or, an aircraft engineer and stuff. They've taken those guys and have put some of those guys on the FPSOs already. right?
And equally, Lance. I mean, Phil talks there about universities, but what is the technical vocational offer looks like in Guyana?
That's where that right. So that's what I mean. They're
Okay.
support is where they're building out a lot of these skills we don't have.
Okay.
So we're really in the phase where these companies are coming in and doing the assessment in terms of what skill set we have.
The gap analysis.
To see what's left
What needs to
to fill in. So there has been progress in that area.
Okay.
In terms of the national planning, I think that needs to be done. That needs a little more concentration in terms of the role of the national university in the development of Guyana at this time. Because what you're talking about is something we like to call the 21st century. And the question is, how role that you're going to play in preparing students for that. And that's, and that is a university matter, that is a high school matter, that is a vocational matter. And, so many things are required. Curriculum review, looking at that. And that is happening in I feel it's a piecemeal manner. I think that there is a fair amount of harmonization that needs to be done in terms of, that one focus in terms of, and I think we are getting a feel now because I think we're in about year 3 of this, oil coming in and stuff like that, and becoming part and parcel of the society. So I think more and more we are beginning to understand what those needs would be.
What needs are,
how the services that we could provide, the level of preparation that you have to go through to be certified. I mean, we provide services, some IT services in that sector, and they take you through the ringer. They want all your policies, they want your HR, they want your health and safety, they want your procedural manuals, they prefer that you're ISO certified. It is really the standard and their demands, and they're not compromising. If you can't do it, you just don't get the work. Right.
That's really important for people to hear, because they have to understand the level of expectation.
Expectation is quite high.
Do business.
Right. And they're not bending. They don't bend. They're happy to say to you that, on the next go round we can give you a option, but for this particular one, you look like you could do it. And so one of the things that we have to continually say to young businesses and old businesses and stuff like that is that you don't have the luxury anymore to be casual in terms of providing some of these services.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting.
The understanding of timelines, and the understand. Sometimes we get a little
informal.
We get informal and stuff like that. They don't play that.
That's really interesting to hear. Sorry, Phil, you were going to say something?
No.
I thought it was
that was me. That was me sounding Asian, by the way. That was me sounding Asian, by the way. If you thought it was Mark or Philip.
We'll send you some banks to really authenticate that.
We'll give you 3 months next time.
Two of my generations are, just so you know. I have family of Bajans, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm still Bajan. Leave it there. I tell the immigration officer that.
It's a shame the effort you're trying to make sure you get longer stay next time.
Absolutely. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody.
It was really nice. Interestingly enough, I only spent 2 days.
Well, if you go with a backpack, what you expect? Anyway.
But listen, I want to double back and ask you. I want to circle back, Laurent, and ask you a question, because we haven't really touched on this, and I would like us to before we go. And it's Venezuela, and if Guyana is going to achieve all its full ambitions and really get these revenues in and transform the region, this potential conflict that seems to be simmering away below the scenes really needs to be handled quite carefully and quite diplomatically. What are you seeing on the ground in regards to that?
Interesting that you brought that up. Just yesterday, President had an hour-long press conference to address the issue. If you're following the case of the ICJ, we've now been moved to February 26th, I think, for a discussion. Venezuela so far refused to participate in the process of the International Court of Justice because they don't want to go with the 1899 arbitral award. And within the last month, Venezuela has done a few things. It has issued a decree claiming parts of our land, the same parts they've been fighting for the longest while. And if you look at the map, Venezuela like half of us, something like that. A whole half that's not connected.
All of the Essequibo.
In the Essequibo. And secondly, within the past 2 weeks, the terminology that is being bandied about, not in government but outside on the street, is that Venezuela, in essence, just kidnapped 2 of our fishing vessels with crew who were fishing within our waters. So diplomatic efforts are being used at this point. As these things go, the U.S., the CARICOM, everybody has condemned the acts of Venezuela, being that these vessels were in Guyanese waters when they came in. And just on Friday, one of the local people playing media, let me just put it that way, no shame, one of the online people over here put up some photos. I usually have to qualify at the end of the day, the end of our day, what people put out on social media, sorry. A bunch of pictures saying that Venezuela is doing stuff in our waters. When we reverse search in Google, which is basic principle, these photos were a year ago. Venezuela has not really been in our water. However, yesterday the president did say about 3 days ago some Venezuelan vessels were within our waters. They come to stick the foot out, see how it's brown over this side, and then go back over to their side of the waters. That's in essence what's happening. So there's a bit of this antagonism that's happening. The reality of the situation is that Venezuela is not going to attack Guyana. That's in my estimation. So this is Liron Brummel's own estimation, not to be confused with my job or the government. This is Liron Brummel's own. Venezuela is not going to attack Guyana because
so NCN's Liron Brummel.
Don't put the man in trouble.
I'm glad I put that disclaimer out there.
NCN's Liron Brummel is of the view that Venezuela
under the definition of character, Lance.
Lance, you're very wicked. Very, very wicked.
No,
because here's the reality situation. A lot of Venezuelans are in Ghana. And a lot of Guyanese have taken Venezuela in. Because if you walk around any village in Ghana, any community in Ghana, you see a lot of Venezuelans. And they're up there, they're at the car washes, they're working in the stores, they're selling food, roadside, and then they have their certification. I know of a Venezuelan doctor working in one of our regions, Bartica, that's a mining area. And these are the guys relaying to me. She was a doctor, but she was in a bar working. And at the time, some of our guys were up there, the chief medical officer, and so they were up there. She's telling them, hey, I'm a doctor in Venezuela over here. I'm serving drinks at a table. And luckily, the chief medical officer was there, and they came over, they translated, and they realized, well, she knows her onions, and now she's working in our system. So the reality of the situation is, yes, she's working in our medical system. So the reality of the situation is, I don't think there's going to be that. Yes, it has always been my view, and as I said, we need people. Breadbasket, Venezuela comes with technology. They come with a lot of other things that can work into agriculture. These are people that can develop different areas in Ghana, in my estimation.
I like your perspective.
So I'm saying that we could sit down with these people, have a plan in place for Venezuela, the Cubans, because I've got a trainer in our gym who's Cuban. His wife is a physiotherapist, and they're working with some of our cricketers and stuff like that. But they're not getting out there. So here's the thing. I don't think we're going to get any of those. These are just things. There's the law that was already set there. We're just going back through the formal process to see. Well, if in 1899, I don't think you thought that there was a fair process. Here we are advanced. a lot more people connected that the entire world can see,
Mm.
that we can adjudicate in this matter. But you've so far
Yeah.
not wanted to participate. You know, in the Caribbean, people like the man come with the ball and he bat and play cricket. He get
Yeah.
ball out, think he should be batting longer,
Take the bat and take the ball.
and he pick up the bat and the ball and he gone.
And he gone.
That's my assessment of this whole situation with Venezuela at this point in time. But
No,
the reality situation is, I don't think it's going to affect us. It has troubled a bit of our investment, to be quite honest, but to the stage that companies, investors don't come where there is
Uncertainty.
But
Yeah,
here's the
that's
reality.
Yeah.
And if I could, Venezuela's oil is like here, Guyana's basin is like here. So Venezuela realized that their oil
Coming in.
is our basin,
Yeah, so they want it.
and that's where the problem comes. It's not Guyana's here and coming here, and Venezuela's here and coming here. There is a basin. Venezuela's oil is coming into our basin. That's where the fight really is.
That's the fight.
So
Exactly.
Okay, fair
sadly,
point.
that's what it is. But I mean, Venezuela's had its choice. It's done. Unfortunately, it's in that situation. But with Exxon here and Repsol and CNOOC and all these people here, at this stage, I don't think it's going to affect us. We just a few weeks ago signed a securities agreement with the U.S. Southern Command to help patrol our borders. So hey, there we go.
Well, let's hope that works.
You know, it's unfortunate we have to spend all this money to go over a case that was settled.
That was settled before.
You know, let's follow the process.
Yeah.
And let's see where the process goes. You were given a fair chance to come in and say, hey, let's deal with this. But if you don't participate, you can't say that you were never given the opportunity. And that's the reality. Even in media, you have something to respond to, we can chat to you, say, hey, could you say this, you know, defend, you know, confirm, deny, or offer a no comment? Still is a comment, but do something.
No, indeed. Look, guys, I really think this was a great discussion. I think it was one that, you know, we needed to have. And I'm really glad that we had it and we just understand where is Guyana going, where it's come from. Because I think Joel did a good job with that one as well.
Yeah,
where it come from. And then where it is, and then even looking for it. So, you know, before we finish, guys in the comments, so the question is does Guyana look inviting?
Ready?
You know, you guys ready to go? You guys, so I think that's the question that everyone across the region is going to have to think about, because we talk about the other way and perhaps the perception of Guyanese of the region, given things that had happened during the 80s and 90s. But then there's also the perception of the region of Guyana, and whether or not, even in this time of potential bounty, Guyana seems inviting or seems somewhere where people in the region would want to relocate to. So I think that's something as well there that people are going to be thinking about. But look, I think it was a fantastic conversation, guys. So thank you for that. Guys in the comments, let the guys know that you know, give them thanks for that. But Ruth, I guess for you now, let's finish up for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Diaspora, are you ready?
I am one of those people who never really cut ties with Guyana. My mom still lives there. And up until COVID, I was going back to Guyana at least 3 times a year. I see myself honestly as staying in Trinidad for now, but sort of expanding my base in Guyana.
Doubles got you.
I have a Trinity husband and I have a Trinity child. And a music career that, yes, has had its challenges, especially since COVID. But that still has more potential here than it necessarily does in Guyana at this point.
For now. So, but like Lance said, there is so much opportunity. I don't have to be there all the time. You know what I mean? And my network and my base and my community, especially my church community, my family is still in Guyana. So I am. It's quite easy for me to set up something, move back and forth, and be supporting and contributing in a very meaningful way, which is what we all want to do. Absolutely.
Excellent. And Lance, what about you? What's your word to the people in the region? about what's on offer and taking advantage of the opportunity? Final word.
As I said before, much to the derision of NCN. You know, look, guys, pack your grip. That's the best. That's the best. I mean, pack your grip. There is no.
And take your COVID test.
Yeah. Don't come with. Yeah, don't come with a thing. Come with no. Pack your grip. Come. Opportunities abound. The world is changing. It's not like you may as well give Guyana a shot. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like if opportunities are flying all over the place and stuff like that. And here you have. I have always liked
the Eldorado rum, eh?
Huh? Yes.
A shot might be Eldorado rum.
Yeah. Yes. I stand correct. Give it a chance. But yeah, I mean,
That is a comedian.
Come, look at opportunities. Come on, I always like these, the economies like these that are building out and are now and now developing and stuff. I've always found them to be the best place to, the best place to be. This is where the action is.
Awesome.
I think so. I think that's where the action is. So guys, we might have to have some conversations. So we got some people to convince.
Yeah, man.
No comment.
Leron, we got those chairs at the airport still. You know that bench that we never use.
Yeah, but we got new ones now.
We got new chairs. Nice.
Look, even
so you ain't gonna sweat on the new benches now.
All right, good. Let's make sure they're comfortable.
But look, guys, and also I want to say stay safe because I know as we were having this conversation, there was an earthquake in Guyana. So I hope that, was it 6.0? Was it?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I haven't felt that everybody's asking me about the tremor. I'm saying we probably have good foundation.
It was very mild.
That's because we were making you laugh so much.
It was a little thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Lance is in a wooden house, by the way.
Oh Lord, here we go again.
Bring her.
Concrete bottom.
Wooden houses are the best plans. Don't let them tie you up. Wooden houses are the best. Don't let them tie you up. You should know better. Guyanese as he is.
As a
Look, even
almost we moved to concrete now, and directly.
It's not even as, which is an interesting discussion that I wanted to bring in up, but. Guys, this isn't Andre. This is the next discussion to have like later on. Not necessarily with me. There are many people who are much more qualified. But you see that whole thing about development and the metaphor of concrete versus wood, old technologies versus new technologies, old ways of being versus new ways of being.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, right. There are lots of things that could have been applied to this conversation. But I think that's something that Caribbean people with ancestral knowledge.
I think that's a wider Caribbean conversation, even beyond that.
It's not. I didn't mean in Guyana's context necessarily, but just showing that pin there because I was biting my tongue. I was like, no.
Laurent beat you up. But look, almost as if
She's ready to go for another hour,
No, we good.
Almost as if almost there was that tremor in Guyana, and we were talking about, the rise of Guyana across the region, which I believe is going to be a bit more than a tremor when you start to realize what's happening. And I hope the region takes advantage of it. And from the guys in the audience, I can see some people are ready to take advantage. So I hope so. I hope they take advantage. Yeah, indeed.
The cost of living is cheaper here.
Well, is it?
Yeah.
I heard land is becoming more expensive. Land that real estate in general.
What's the definition of more expensive? Because you remember you've got land.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
And the location determines how land is. That's
going to flatten out over time.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us here in the living room. It's been a fantastic conversation. For the guys in the audience who's still there, if you you're there, hit share. Just make sure that as many people come into the conversation as possible. So people who didn't get to see it live, they'll just get to see it as it live on the internet. So do us a favor, hit share, get people understanding where Guyana is going and the fact that they're open to the region and for the region to come in and just not just take advantage, because that sounds a bit predatory. But when I say take advantage, I mean Guyana has the ability now to move the region in a direction that, or to take a rightful place that they should be. And I think that, it's open, the possibilities are there. So do us a favor and hit share so that everyone can come into the conversation. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you here in the living room.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sure.
for having us. Thanks.
It's been
Thanks, guys.
fantastic.
Thanks for being here in 2021 as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yeah. Awesome.
You packing your grip?
I got a valise, man.
I always travel with a grip. I always travel.
You got a valise, so like I got word in a long time, boy. A valise. Wow.
As a comedian, yeah, you could get
Yeah.
my work.
I feel so. But look, I thought that was a real good discussion actually.
Very,
Yeah.
very, very
Real
nice.
learning as well. I was doing a lot of listening to just understand. And I thought Joe's historical context there
Yeah.
was pretty good in just getting the understanding and of where it is, where it's come from, and then where it's going. Lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that Joel said he was going to go away and write a conference paper, so we should probably look to get some co-authorship on that.
Indeed.
I know you'll be looking for that. I think a couple of things that stood out for me was, and I think it was Ruth that mentioned the new reality of Guyana. Huh?
Mhm.
That is something that I think the Caribbean as a whole has to come to grips with.
Yeah.
We can't see Guyana in the way that we have always seen them. Sadly, this is a real opportunity, and a lot of that opportunity needs to translate across the region. And the other thing was the reform of governance, because when Lance was talking about what is needed, there's a big reform piece needed here around the governance structures to enable devolution, and that is going to take time. And those really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. I love the discussions that went from, it's not just about excitement, it's really about hope and potential.
Yeah.
I thought it was well framed.
Yeah.
But also really that point of, we don't really just want to think of development as this just sudden change of a way of living, but it's really about evolution. It's about regarding our ecology. It's still about looking at how do we bring indigenous people into the conversation and
Yes.
a more holistic view of the nation and then potentially the region moving forward as well. So I thought it was that was a really enlightening conversation. Very engaging as well, and very lively.
I think so. It was just so much learning there to understand, Guyana, and then the openness as well. And I thought the conversation around, how the rest of the region perceived Guyana back in the day, and how that can impact people.
I don't know what you was where you was going there.
Huh? You don't know where it's going there.
You so long to get that. You so long to get that, Phil.
Yeah, he was nervous.
I was trying to see how to frame it, right? I had to frame it. It's a delicate subject. I, for instance, feel like in Barbados, I know the times when after 6:30, all of a sudden you will see Guyanese people appear, and the reason, and it wasn't the fact that they appeared. The fact was during the day, it was almost as if they were in hiding.
Yeah,
And as Ruth was saying, because a conversation could suddenly turn into I can make a phone call to immigration for you.
Yeah.
So I've seen that, and I grew up seeing that as well. So I think it's a real conversation. And I think as Guyana rises and continue to rise, it's a real conversation that's going to have to happen across the region.
Yeah.
And the
Absolutely.
psychology of how people view Guyana as well is going to have to change if people are going to make that move.
And I'll tell you something, it was a challenging conversation in that it really makes us think about what role do we want to play in this opportunity. So it really challenges you from that perspective, because the opportunities are there. Can we participate in them? And are we going to challenge ourselves enough to do that?
I agree. 100%. Well, look, it was a fantastic show. I think, Mark, we wanted to say, this week, we lost a legend.
Yes, you know, we had a legend in the living room last Sunday, and this week we lost. You know, Trinidad lost an icon, and the Caribbean lost a legend of great magnitude, whose music will live on. So we just want to say rest in peace, singing Sandra.
Indeed, such
What a legacy.
a visionary. The legacy is there. The storytelling, the potency of their songs and what's not. Fantastic. She was a great legend.
Absolutely.
And so look, everyone that's there, I saw loads of people in there. Carla, we saw you. Michelle Cumberbatch, we saw you. Susan Downs, thank you. Pat, Michelle Gray, Karen Reed, Carla Mack, Eunice, thank you for always joining us. Karen Douglas, Avril, thanks for joining us there. Stacey Hutchinson, Jeanette Barker. I like to call it loads of names. I know I'm going to miss a lot and people can get vexed with me, but that's all right. I don't mind. But I just call the names to let you guys know that, as we say in the living room, we don't have interviews, we have conversations, and our audience are part of those conversations as well. So we thank you so much. We don't take it for granted that you take 2 hours out of your Sundays to join us, and we just want to say thank you. Final word, Mark.
No, thank you so much. It's been an awesome experience today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Indeed. Phil?
All good, man. Really enjoyed this. Yeah.
Good.
New perspectives.
Okay, and I'm off to look at the cooking books to see how I can get through the next 8 months of being a vegetarian again.
Oh gosh.
I can say some ideas. Not that I'm vegetarian, but I cook vegetarian as well.
That's right. Hey, thank you guys for being with us. Until next time.
Curry goat coming.
Pack up lentils. Lentils is all you need.